All right, guys, it's time to talk about Sarah Bond, the exiting president of Xbox. And the reason why we are talking about Sarah Bond today is because she is helping, obviously, the new CEO transition over to her role. But not only that, she finally issued a statement following the news of her departure. So she's been pretty quiet over the last couple of days. And I mean, honestly, I don't see why she wouldn't be, considering that, this all kind of happened out of the blue. Like none of this was, I don't think any of this was spur of the moment. I think it was all planned, and it was spur of the moment for us, but they knew it was going to happen. And Sarah Bond has finally issued whatever her statement is. So we're going to talk about that in this particular video and see exactly what she has to say. Now, there's a lot of conspiracies that are going around out there. And, we talked about this on SNH every Saturday, 8 p.m. live, where Atreus had his conspiracy that the reason why she was exited from the company is because, she was just a little bit too close to Phil Spencer, if you catch what I'm saying. But again, there's a lot of thoughts and conspiracies around why she decided to leave. Now, I do find it a little bit out of the blue and a little bit shocking because I don't know about you guys, but the entire time Phil Spencer was in charge and Sarah Bond was her, basically his right-hand girl, I thought, according to what they were saying anyway, that she was being trained and prepared to be the next one in charge over at Xbox. So for her to leave at the exact same time as Phil Spencer, and for her to leave so abruptly when she was supposed to be the next one in charge, and then randomly this other person who wasn't part of Xbox Gaming, which is Asha, whatever her name is, to get the position, it just seemed kind of weird. It seemed like this kind of happened all out of the blue. So let's see what she has to say. So according to GamesRant.com, outgoing Xbox president Sarah Bond issues a statement following departure news. The former Xbox president and COO Sarah Bond has shared a parting statement with colleagues and fans after she announced that she would be stepping down from her roles alongside Phil Spencer, who is also departing from the company. Xbox and Microsoft Gaming will be undergoing their first major C-suite shift in some time, with Asha Sharma taking up the mantle of CEO at Microsoft Gaming and a dual role of executive vice president with Matt Booty. And the latter would also be serving as a newly appointed chief content officer over at Xbox. Despite the unexpected executive shifts, Sarah Bond's departure comments have shared an optimistic outlook for the future of Xbox and the words of support for the new leaders who will be forging the future of Microsoft Gaming. All right, so before we get into that, what I will say is that one of the biggest, probably if not the biggest, red flags in her leadership tenure was the fact that she ended up joining the board of directors at Tyson Foods, which is like, again, why is it that the Xbox, COO, why is she joining the board of directors over at Tyson Foods? I just think that was a little bit random and kind of out of the blue. And I feel like that should have been one of the biggest red flags as to something's going on. I don't know if she is trying to have her exit strategy. I don't know how long this was planned. I don't know how long they had this idea in their mind to replace Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. I have to think that they must have known about this for probably almost a year. And the reason why I say that is because they specifically timed this the way that they timed this, because they did this executive change after all of the, investor calls and the quarterly reports and all that stuff were already done. They waited till that was done, and then they announced the change. And it happened within a couple of days. It's like 1, 2, 3. That's not normal. That's not normal at all. So something is very weird with all of this. But anyway, so Sarah Bond was first joined Microsoft in 2017 to assist with gaming business partnerships and would eventually climb the ranks and be promoted to president of Xbox in 2023, working alongside then CEO of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer. Xbox saw a number of massive changes in its approach to both hardware and services during Bond's tenure, with more recent years seeing a strong focus on changes to Xbox Game Pass, a corporate shift away from console exclusivity, and major deals like Activision Blizzard acquisition in 22. Sarah Bond helped lead Xbox through the trials and tribulations following that Activision Blizzard deal and helped the company to overcome various challenges. As Bond prepares to leave Microsoft and Xbox, the outgoing president has shared a reflective look at what she and her team accomplished, blah, blah, blah. So here's what I will say. One of the biggest, by far, problems, and I've said this with many videos regarding Xbox, and I know Xbox fans don't want to hear it. I'm sorry, it's the truth. One of the biggest issues that Xbox is facing is an identity crisis. It's a loss of identity. people can have their thoughts about the console wars, whether it was good or bad for business. I think it was good for business. You can have your ideas behind it. It's fine. But the console wars ended up creating an identity for all the platforms. And Xbox was one of the first ones to forego that identity completely. PlayStation started to forego that identity slightly by releasing their games on PC, but they still release games exclusively on their platform for at least 6 months to a year before releasing it on Xbox. Xbox decided to just forego all of that immediately and just completely threw it all away. And not only that, they completely threw away their own hardware and their own console, and they focused so much on Game Pass, but none of it mattered. Some people don't even realize that even though Xbox has focused completely on Game Pass, PlayStation Plus still has more subscribers. Isn't that insane? Like PlayStation, that's just an additive. PS Plus is an additive thing. I feel like Game Pass is the identity now for Xbox, or at least that's what it probably should be at this point. But PlayStation just, PS Plus is an additive feature. You use it for online, but nobody thinks of PlayStation and think of like, oh yeah, PS Plus. No, they think of the games, they think of the hardware, whatever. Xbox, Game Pass is everything. Game Pass is everything for Xbox. And even though it's everything, it's still less subscribers than PlayStation Plus, which is crazy to me. I didn't even realize that until about a year ago when I was looking into the numbers and realized, oh, wow, PlayStation is actually beating Xbox and they're not even trying. They don't have day one releases. They don't have any of that stuff. Like Xbox is actually trying and they still have less subs, which is crazy. But anyway, let's continue. So let's talk about what she had to say. In a dedicated note shared with her team and posted publicly on LinkedIn, Sarah Bond stated that she is incredibly proud of what Xbox and her team were able to build over the past 8 years, making particular note of the rapid growth in PC and cloud gaming, the development of the next Xbox console, and the laying of a foundation for a more open gaming platform. Bond revealed memories of her commitment to help lead Xbox through a period of critical change and presently sees the state of video game industry as a transformative technological era, which I don't disagree with because we do definitely live in a time where, AI is so rapidly changing. It's not even funny. And at this point, we are going to see gaming change drastically in the next 5 years, whether it's for the better or for the worse. We don't know yet. I hope it's for the better. But, the gold rush is happening. All these companies are treating AI as the modern day gold rush. And they're all trying to be the number one in AI with the best technology and the best, whatever they could do, they're trying to do it. And what we're going to see is a lot of companies go broke chasing the AI gold rush, and they're going to be absorbed by the bigger companies that didn't go broke. Microsoft is one of them. But in any case, so as such, Bond believes this moment offers a unique opportunity for eyes and new leadership to guide Xbox and Microsoft gaming into the next chapter of gaming. She thanked Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, for their support over the years, and she sent well wishes to Asha Sharma. So again, guys, very interesting stuff. Of interesting note from Bond was mentioned that she'll be assisting Asha Sharma during the transitional period as a special advisor. It is unknown if this role will be served in any official capacity or if it simply allows Bond to aid Sharma in settling into new duties with occasional guidance. Sarah Bond's message ended with 3 crucial questions that she used while acting as president of Microsoft with gaming. Those questions all revolve around having the best performance while helping others to succeed and ensuring a superior result. Both Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer's departures have left many wary of the immediate and long-term impacts on Xbox, though this parting statement from Bond and comments by Matt Booty have reassured both employees and fans with passionate support for the new changes at Microsoft Gaming and Xbox. So, this is a lot of corporate speak, okay? I think what's going to happen is the following. First and foremost, we are going to see some massive changes with Game Pass. I can't tell you what they are because I don't know. Again, I'm just guessing. I've been pretty decent at guessing what's going to happen, especially with Game Pass. But I think with the removal of Phil Spencer especially and Sarah Bond, those two together incorporated a lot of the changes we know from Game Pass right now, that for the better or worse, whether better for consumer or worse for the company, there were some good and bad changes in there. And I think we are going to see either an overhaul or some big changes with Game Pass within the next 6 months to a year. I think that's going to be the first move for Asha and Matt Booty. I think that's going to be their first move. Then it's going to be the focus on hardware. I think they're probably going to try to make something, change their advertising. I think they might get rid of the, you're an Xbox, your mom's an Xbox, the toaster's an Xbox. I think that's going to go completely out the window. And they're going to change up their advertising, where even though they're not doing exclusivities, they're going to advertise their console as if it is an exclusive place to enjoy the Xbox platform. I think they're going to try to regain their identity. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to try to regain their identity some way, somehow. And I think those are going to be the two main focus for Matt Booty and Asha as well. And then after that, we could talk about the video games. We could talk about like whatever video games they might be, have coming out in the future or whatever. We could talk about that at that point. But they have to fix their identity crisis first. They have to fix the lack of faith in the Xbox brand. They have to fix that first before focusing on the games. And then they can utilize the games after they fix their brand, and their image of their brand. If they can't fix the image of the brand, they really have nowhere to go at this point. So it's going to be an interesting situation for sure. It's going to be curious to see how they go about this. But, at this point, she's made her promises. Matt Booty has made his promises. And all it takes now is figuring out whether or not they're actually going to follow through. That's really it. We can't do anything other than wait and see whether or not they follow through.